This is another episode of Beep Your Feelings, the show. As you can see, we have a special guest, so I'm trying to be on my best behavior. Good luck. I'm going to do my best to be on my best behavior, but don't. What?
No, I was talking to you.
Okay. So we are just waiting a couple of minutes, but we are going to be talking blended families, or as I like to call it, coping with other people's little liabilities. Woo! So today is going to be quite the show, and I'm going to come around now. And here we are. Let me get the microphone together so you guys can see and hear. But again, we had said we were going to have a special guest, and here we are. I'm super delayed on the TV, but okay, dum dum dum. We are waiting for people to join us. Thank you for those who've already joined. I'm always doing the most. Again, we are here to change the conversation around Black relationships, and part of that is, of course, blended families, because as we know, most people are not getting married and then having babies. You will, though. You're gonna do what first?
Marry.
And then?
Baby.
Oh, okay.
This is
good to know.
So I need to see what I go through, right?
I'm just saying, like, marriage, she knows it's marriage and then baby. She doesn't do, anyhow.
Yep.
She does not make the same mistake. And the children are not a mistake, just so we know. They're not, but again, we want to make sure that we are teaching our children different things than we learned ourselves, correct? Mm-hmm. So this is her first time appearing live. We figured if we were going to make her be on camera, it would be with us. She's not allowed to go on her tickety talks and so forth, showing herself. That is my rule, because people don't need to be seeing all of her beauty if it is not regulated by mommy. So this is where we are. So we are going to give it a couple of more minutes, but thank you for everybody who's joined so far. Yes, I have sent out cooking.
No,
you know what I'm doing? Look at that.
I know what you're doing.
You know what you... Oh, look at that. You were part of the show now. Okay. You understand that I'm sending out invites. Oh, that's so good.
Yes, I can't wait to out y'all and how much shade y'all throw at me. Like I just...
Huh?
Yeah.
I don't even understand what you're speaking about. No one shades him.
I'm not a shade thrower.
Okay. Sure.
We don't.
Okay.
We just speak honestly.
There's a difference between lying and being honest.
Okay, see, there we go. So I am going to, again, just waiting a couple of minutes for people to join. I know we have started extra early today because, of course, the time changed. So I'm going to go and send some requests here and let people know what the dealio is, because people need to know what's up. And let them know.
For us, actually, it's different for y'all because we're Arizona and we're just like that. Everybody changes time with us.
Yeah, Arizona does not change time, which actually works for me. I don't get the point of daylight savings
most
time.
Most people aren't farmers anymore. We live in Arizona. We got plenty of
Is that what it was about?
Yeah.
Because Percy and Tully said they were really trying to do some research, and they were like, we still can't determine why we have daylight savings time. Like, there was no real big valid reason.
I think it has something to do with farmers and like trying to...
As smart as you are, I'm pretty sure that's correct.
And good. But for all I know, it has something to do with like markets and all of that. You know?
Farming makes sense, actually, when you think about it. Farming makes a lot of sense. Like, it makes sense that it's because of farming. So I completely get it. Sorry, guys, I am still here sending this out because I think this is an important conversation. And I was surprised by one of the poll. Yeah, I'm sending a lot. I want people to watch.
Come on, come in.
Okay, I'm ready now. I was surprised surprised by one of the answers to one of the poll questions we had. And so this is going to be interesting because I am curious to know what people have to say about this. So here we go. Hey, Twins Inc., thank you for joining. Honestly, I swear, am I basic instincting?
You have your whole problems, but supposedly blended families, it's like, yes, how do you blend your family with this lady over here worried about being basic instinct?
Danny, I'm doing okay, right?
What does that mean?
It's adults. I'm making sure they don't see London, they don't see France, they don't see mummies. I'm doing okay.
Yes, we still have not quite figured our angles out.
Thank you everybody for joining. We're just giving it a couple minutes. We're going to be talking about blended families, or as I like to say, coping with other people's little liabilities. Because if we're honest with ourselves, other people's children are not an asset, they're a liability. I think children as a whole are a liability. Children might add to your life, but they take away from assets. They don't add. So this is me. This is why the show has the title. She's not allowed to say the name, but I can't beat your feelings, the show, because we keep it real up in here. She's not allowed to say the show.
No, yeah, we're not going to up in here. You know. She knows what we do. We talk extensively. We eat together when I'm home, if I don't mess that up. But
you're funny.
We talk a lot, but these two, they have an excellent rapport. Like, Danny literally comes in the house and wants to run and tell Sheba.
Hey Stacy, hey Justin, hey Tamika.
What the tea of the day is over in 7th grade life, and
lots of stuff going on in 7th grade.
I think that because she's quite interested, like almost to the extent of like it was a little too much about.
I know what's going on and who's dating who and who's vaping in the bathroom and who was fighting who. You gotta know what's going on. Like, I know Danny tells me what's going on, because honestly, there are so much things going on. There are tickety-talk challenges and all these things that if you don't keep your finger on the pulse as a parent, you're gonna miss a lot of stuff. And so I am in there.
And that's why I'm glad I got her in there, diving in and helping out, because I'm not the best equipped to raise
Patchykins!
a young woman. And I think if most guys are fairly honest with themselves, they would probably agree with that statement.
But I think it's interesting. Again, I'm going to get to one of the poll questions that actually disturbed me in a second. But we wanted to get Danny in here because if we're going to talk about blended families, we probably should talk about the person who has the effect of our blended family, right? Like, we're adults and we can deal with certain things. I think sometimes it's difficult for children, and we tend to overlook their feelings. So this is a platform for Danny to answer some questions and be free and say how she feels. And
no, try not to put her on the spot too hard. She just turned 12. She, so she's still, like I said, a 7th grader, but she's fairly articulate. So let's do it. So, thank you. Bub, how's it been life with Toshiba so far?
Awesome. It's fun.
She said awesome.
So we might have to do a little disclaimer because she is a guest tonight on the Adult Show. And we had a previous conversation. One of her friends, when things aren't awesome,
she says awesome.
So just to clarify, awesome might not be the best word.
It's fine, baby. Awesome is fine. She says
feel like it's code word.
She says it's awesome. Like, and again, we want you to be honest. So Daddy and Mommy will ask you questions, but I think
2 times.
Don't kill me, because Twins Inc., as you know, I'm Jamaican, so you know how that goes.
That's exactly like awesome. Great though. You got us laughing already. Like, again, it's not that serious. So no one's expected you to give a speech or anything like that.
Why are you giving her all hope that. Anyways, baby girl. So for you as the blended, you have to deal with a blended family. What advice would you give? And I know you're only 12, but what advice would you give parents on how to make a blended family work? I know that was a very big question for me to ask you.
No.
I don't know what you said.
I don't know.
Why do you think we have worked? How about that? That's a better question.
Because we're alike.
So here's the thing. I think, that is a big part of when you choose a partner. I remember when Rob and I met, and he found that I was a Scorpio, and that was the first thing, because Danny's also a Scorpio. Her birthday was on Monday, my birthday's next Friday. But there were certain characteristics over time. He'd be like, oh my God, like, you and Danny hadn't moved here yet to be with us. He's like, oh my God, you guys are like the same person. Like, I like to go into the closet and meditate and do whatever. Danny will go into the closet. I steal Rob's slippers. He was like, oh my God, Danny used to do that a lot as a kid. And to be honest, when Danny got here, the more we started dealing with our relationship, the more I was just like, I actually said at the dinner table the other day, I said, I could have birthed this child. Like, our similarities are very interesting, but our differences are also our differences, because she has to clearly deal with a mom who's a little bit more of a disciplinarian.
Hey, Joyce, what's going on?
How's that for you? Because mommy is... What's that like? How is it dealing with probably more discipline that you definitely got with Daddy? Daddy doesn't really discipline.
Some things you have to get used to.
Talk up a little bit. No,
some things you have to get used to and stuff like that, because you're not always going to get your way and have your own personal space. Because in 7th grade, there's nothing that you really have.
Yeah, so what personal space do you need?
None.
Thank you.
So that's how your 7th grader ends up pregnant. Oh.
And there is a 7th grader at her school that's pregnant. And here was the thing. I think, and again, they're blending a family is difficult. Thank you, Tamika. She says you're amazing, pretty girl. I mean, you gotta give them love.
Start. Just like this one. I think they're both very beautiful.
I gotta do a little. People say you're pretty. Go, thank you. Come say it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So I think, blending a family should not be taken lightly. I think people really have to consider what they're doing and how they're going to do it. I think for me, coming into the situation, I wanted it to just kind of, in some ways, play out, right? Like, I wasn't forcing anything on her. She does call me mommy, but that wasn't something neither one of us told her to do. One day she just started doing it, and I accepted it because I am raising her. Our situation is a little different because, of course, she lives with us and I'm raising her, so essentially I am her mom, as opposed to her, say, coming over on the weekends, right? I think that's a different scenario. I think maybe things would be very different if I was the weekend stepmom as opposed to the person who does her hair and makes sure that she's good and listens to the drama and cooks her food and teaches her all of those things and disciplines her, because Rob doesn't discipline.
Yeah, I think you said that.
Danny said that.
But it just takes a lot to really get me there. And again, because of that, I have a very different dynamic with my son, because he's a little guy, so I look at his behaviors differently. I look at his movements differently. I assess the situation differently than maybe she might, because she's just looking at him from just a sweet little innocent little boy or whatever. And I do think that there's something to said about the fact that, yes, I am her dad, but in really teaching her how to be the type of lady that I think she desires to be, I knew I needed help with that. That's just, I have no shame in saying that whatsoever. I've never been a woman. I've never been a 12-year-old girl. I've been a 12-year-old boy.
And we want to keep her away from 12-year-old boys.
Right. So,
Sorry.
and I knew from when early on when we were developing that I didn't really see any barriers to the two of them being able to get along. I felt like they saw things, they related to me similarly. And I'm glad it's been a very, very easygoing transition. But one thing I wanted to say is being the biological parent in a blended family, I knew one thing I had to adjust to is that you can't say, help me raise this child, and then lay down the law on how they're going to do it. I knew that I had to adjust to Sheila's parenting style with my daughter, not the other way around, you know. And that was a little, because I'm always like, touch my pearls. Like, almost anytime she gets after her, but I know it can be rough on Buck sometimes, but
Thank you, babe.
she's
like
her biggest advocate, though. At least, you know, in my opinion. So I'm okay with it, but I know, just like fathers with their sons, sometimes you have the mom saying like, "Whoa, you're being too hard on him. You gotta, you know, soften up or whatever." And what I've learned is just when I observe the interaction, sometimes I might be like, here's a suggestion, or maybe if it was me, I would maybe incorporate this. I try really hard to avoid telling her what not to do and what she can't do, because that's not fair, essentially, you know, because I am asking a lot of her.
And you know, to add, I think when Danny first moved here, there was a lot of conversations I had with Rob before we would have with Danny. So I would bring something to Rob because, again, she was just getting used to me. I was still the new woman in her dad's life, so I wasn't going in full force, blazing. This is what you're gonna do because you live here. Like I wasn't prepared to do that, and that wouldn't have been fair to her. And so there were a lot of times that we had conversations together as a family, as opposed to me going to her. I would go to Rob. I would say, here is something I've observed that I think we need to correct. And then he would say if he disagrees or agrees, which most of the time he agreed. And then we would sit Danny down and then we would have a conversation. And we found that worked well enough. So then when it was time for me to really take over the reins, she understood things very differently because it wasn't me. We had to show a united front, I guess is what I'm saying in the beginning. We definitely had to show it couldn't be a situation where I would say something and then she'd be like, interesting. Well, Dad's girlfriend's saying this, but if I ask Daddy's gonna say something else, right? We had to show her, nah, little girl, not today.
Well, yeah, I would agree with that. I think that's any type of parenting relationship, you need to have a united front. Now, it's almost like how you present yourself as a couple out in the world. You can disagree, but the world should not see those disagreements, because those are opportunities to jump in there and start messing with what's going on. So, as she was saying, if I come in and every time she says, this is what it is, I just veto that, my daughter starts to pick up on that. Mm-hmm. And children being children, like again, I loved being a child because I was like always pushing the boundaries and the limits and trying to see what I could like finagle. You know what I mean? So like that's kind of what kids do. Her job is to try to see what she can get away with. Our job is to
rein
that crap in. You know, and she's an awesome kid. Like thankfully she doesn't have a desire to be like mischievous, for lack of a better word. You know, so I do appreciate you very much for that, hon. She has a desire to be like a good person, a solid person, a stable person, and that's all I wish to be able to help her to do. I think that's the united front right there. Is you don't want your children to go out into the world and have to learn lessons that you should have taught them.
Amen to that, and I think that was the part that was important that I had to convey to him. That there are certain things that, no, if she's going to learn it anywhere, she's going to learn it here, because I'm not prepared to send a young black woman out into the world that thinks that, like, oh my God, this is the way the world works. I didn't know. I'm 18 and on my own, and nobody prepared me for what life is going to be like. And I know in the beginning we had, I'm going to tell stories. In the beginning we had a bumpy moment where there was a time that I said no to Danny about something. She didn't like it, and Rob brought it to me, and I was like, okay, what do you think? We're going to sit here and say yes? She's a child. I don't say yes to children, just cause. And we had to have a discussion about that, and then I had a discussion. Oh Jesus, of course, this is great. We had to have a discussion. I went and had a separate discussion with Danny because I understood she was upset by me saying no, and it was something silly. But when Rob brought it to me, I was like, if you think I'm about to be in a place where I'm going to say yes to a child all the time, you've got the wrong one. So we're going to have to take a look at how we're going to do this parenting thing. And it was a quick discussion, but he understood. I was like, do you think the world is going to say yes to her just because you want something? Like, what world is, and this is why I said no. And then he was like, okay, I get now why you said no. But him wanting to protect his offspring, because that's what fathers do, that's what parents do, he came to me, but I was like, no, we're not about to do this, because like you said, you're not about to say, be a part of helping me raise my child, but here are boundaries. Please don't say no to her. I was like, you got the wrong one. I'm Jamaican. Twin think, are you counting? That's 2.
Okay, we got to it. That's a big part of it. But on some real, like, well, I don't know. Do you want to take a second? Because I know you're not going to just grab the mic or nothing. So anything you want to interject or add in?
I know she don't talk about when that question that she didn't like either.
Oh, okay.
Right, baby.
So, like, one thing is, like, we talked about basketball, and I'm like, sports teaches you about life, in my opinion. You know what I mean? It teaches you how to deal with wins, how to deal with losses, and how to compete and get your butt up and get out there and play the game. And one thing that I learned in that environment is that discipline is mandatory to achievement and success. Like, no world-class athlete ever has just lived however they wanted. There's training regimens, there's sleep schedules, there's a lot of stuff that you don't want to do to get to those levels that you can do what you want to do, and that's why so again, lost my train of thought, but let me double it back to one thing that I've really learned in sports is that discipline just in itself is not enough, though. You need training to supplement the discipline, because how can you punish someone for not doing what you want them to do if you've never taught them what to do? You feel me? Mm-hmm. So, like, if I'm a coach of a basketball team, I can't just send my kids out there and be like, run box 52. They looking at me like, what is that? 52. Oh, y'all don't know the play. And I'm throwing the clipboard, but I never have shown them. I never went through this in practice. I've never diagrammed these things with them. So,
Joanne, if you're sending me messages, girl, I can't see them. I'm recording my phone. Just put the messages in the comment box. Sorry. I can see that Joanne's sending me messages. She's doing it on WhatsApp.
We're talking about
girl, just keep putting in the message box. That's our creative director. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, but, so one thing that I understood about Toshiba is that she is a disciplinarian. She is very big into discipline. No. She likes to shut things down. But she is also an excellent trainer. Like and I want to say, at least in my opinion, would you agree with that assessment?
Like, I try to explain the reasoning behind my no's, or the reasoning behind why I'm saying that things should go the way, and I also give her an opportunity. At least I try. I've learned along the way. I've been doing this for 20 years of making her understand, why do you think I'm doing this? Like, what behavior did you have that has created now this? And I don't like to call them punishments, because I'm not punishing her. I'm teaching her how to navigate the world. That's what I like to think. Mm-hmm. Because when she comes home and she tells me all these dramas of these little girls who trade, like, it's November and some of them have 4 boyfriends since school started in August, and one 12-year-old is pregnant, and 2 girls just had a fight in the hallway at the beginning of school. One of them was punching a teacher, and it was just like, and I'm like, oh, no, like, no, this is not how we conduct ourselves. Because school, to me, school is a learning path for the real world. And I'm telling her, pretend this is the real world. Is this what you want to display in the real world? Because some of these behaviors, they creep out into these kids' lives, and they're 20-something and they don't know how to navigate the world. Because, again, these kids are growing up on TikTok and whatever else is out there. What else is out there in TikTok?
Snapchat.
Oh,
Instagram.
Snapchat and TikTok.
And we're on Instagram.
And we on Instagram, so shout out to Instagram.
Instagram is our platform of choice at this moment. But what I would add to that is one of the things that, and I'm constantly reminding myself of it, and some days I do better with it than others, but as a rule of thumb in general in life, good choices get you more opportunities, and bad choices tend to get you less opportunities. So what she was saying about the way that she deals with it, would you say that's fair? I don't think she really tries to punish you. I think that
well, let her talk.
Yeah.
When mommy, because I tend to take things away. I'm a taker of things because, again, I think there's a lot of distraction, especially with media these days with kids, and I'm all about go out and play and do whatever. Yeah. Do you think it's a punishment that I'm doing that? Why do you think I do that?
It's more about you wanting me to get out of the house and explore more of the real world, go on walks and stuff like that.
Also,
it's not really a punishment to me.
And also, I think on top of that is, just like Rob said, there are consequences to choices. If she's given a rule and she decides that for whatever reason that day she's feeling froggy and she wants to toe the line a little bit and step over that line, I'm quick to drag her little box side, as Jamaicans would say, back. I don't play that game. I think the more, again, like Rob said, if your kids see that line and you're like, don't do this, and then they get to the line and they're like, oh, she's not saying anything, and they put up their hand over the line, and they go, oh, she doesn't say anything. Then they're like, guess what? I'm just gonna jump over the line because mommy and daddy aren't saying anything. So I'm the person, let me correct that behavior before she thinks that she can play over on this line. No, little girl, you don't pay no bills in here. That's right. So we had some questions that we asked. If anybody wants to ask any questions again,
please.
Of my very funny sentiment of coping with other people's little liabilities, go with that. But we asked some questions that I thought was interesting, and the results were very, very interesting. I'm actually not surprised by this first one, and we're gonna actually spend a little bit of time on this because, ladies, I gotta talk to you. So, no, seriously. Ladies, would you allow a stepfather to discipline your children? 100% of people said no.
damn, honey.
So
What do we mean by discipline? Like physically? I think
that's beating. That's abuse. We're not talking abuse.
We're in 2021. I think it's a rule of thumb.
People are usually told they're beating, not in North America, when children can call CPS and all of this stuff.
So I wonder if maybe somehow they thought they were talking about like putting their hands on the child.
But even if sometimes kids need beatings.
Some kids only speak French. Only speak German.
No, but here's my question for ladies that are on here. I'd be curious to know, if you have a child and you did not marry the father and you're in a step-parent situation or likely will be in a step-parent situation, is there an issue with the man you choose, because you chose that person, disciplining your child? Because, again, especially for women, this is a rare situation. It is not often that you go into a situation and a man has custody of the children, right? It's usually the women bring the children with them. So if that is the case, and I would say 95% of the time, it's a step-parent situation, it's the father who has to adjust. Right. And again, your child is a liability to him. Your child is not an asset to another man. Another man's seed never going to be an asset to another man. Therefore, I'm curious to know if you're bringing a little liability into a relationship and then you're going to put parameters around how he deals with the little liability. Like, what is in it for a man to come in? I mean, Brittany Renner's saying it's stepdaddy season, but what benefits if 100% of women who answered this are saying that the man can't discipline their child? Then what's the point? Then they should stay and raise the child until they're 18 and then start dating. Because the child doesn't need discipline after 18. I know ladies who are on. I don't know, because I couldn't imagine.
Perspective though, like, because no, I look at it again. I peel the onion back a little bit differently sometimes, and I'm like, so as a woman, you're asking a man to help you raise your kids, but he can't discipline, and I'm like, why is that? Is that because you don't trust him to discipline your children? Or is that because you don't think that he's... Like, I think that those questions should have probably been adjusted and addressed before
you guys got to
y'all
him.
even got to the point where the kids was involved with the two of you. And again, I am not throwing shade. I've been an idiot before and made those mistakes. You know what I'm saying? So... the way I see that is like, how are you truly at that point with a dude, but he doesn't have your trust enough to discipline your child? Why, like?
But he can pay all the big and baby bills in the house and feed the little
You wouldn't
land.
just think that he'd fly off the handle and smack your pickney, nothing like that. You know what I'm saying?
You're using picnic.
But kind of seriously though, like that's a very like one, and it was very, I don't know what how deep the poll was, but yeah, like so that's unfavorable of stepdads disciplining their children.
But I'm not surprised by that, because I think that there are a lot of women who, again, women are nurturers, they're protectors. They want to protect their child, their children. And so, but for me, it's like, if you're not going to be with the dad and you're going to choose to be with someone else, what benefit does a man have coming into your life if he's expected to contribute to the benefit of the child being raised? So I'd assume as a stepfather he's contributing to the clothes on the child's back and the food in their mouth and their education and their extracurricular activities. But if the child does something, he's got to come to you and tell you, and then you do the corrective behavior. I think that's a little bit troubling.
Troubling? That's a little emasculating.
Oh, you just said the word.
I did, but that's how that was a little like, really? Like, he gotta watch how he talked to her or him. Like, that's a very interesting place to be in, yeah.
I actually want to hold on to that. I want the ladies to really, this is going to be one of our clips, I really want women to think about that. You've taken away a man's power to do what a man does, and a lot of dads are disciplined.
Like, just because, I'm like, come on, she's not big a chandelier or nothing like that. Don't act like I don't bring any correction to the situation. Like, I never get there because you're already on top.
I am on top of things. But I really want people to think about how emasculating that really is for a man. I'm expected to protect and provide, but I can't discipline your child.
Yeah, that kind of sucks. Like,
that does suck.
Like, so, like, and how far does that go? Like, again, does he now have to be in, like, anxiety of what the kid is going to say he did to you? And, like, because that doesn't sound like there's a lot of trust in that situation.
And then that has to question the mother. Is a mother doing it for companionship, or she actually wants a relationship? Because if you just got lonely, then have your boyfriend on the side. Exactly. When the kid's with daddy or grandma or whomever, but I don't think you bring a man around your child that you're not prepared for him to partake in the raising of the child, just the providing for. I don't know many men who are going to just sign up for providing
some
for.
Guys with the rescue, definitely, but they're not as abundant.
And then those men eventually divorce those women, because if they've got a little girl and a little girl has realized, wow, because I've heard a story like that. I was told the story where a gentleman divorced his wife because the stepdaughter realized, wow, mom doesn't allow him to discipline me. And it got to a certain point where she was like, oh, so I can basically do anything and you can't discipline me because I'm just going to go to mom. And imagine the moment he starts to discipline her. What could possibly happen? Could she say, oh, he touched me, he did all of those things? Because the mother had true. But again, this man was expected to protect and provide for the benefit of the home, but wasn't allowed to discipline. Like, I don't know. And if I'm a man, I'm not signing up to provide for your little liability, but then not having the benefit of contributing to the raising. So you're going to come to me when they need clothes and food and school fees, but don't I dare speak to them about their behavior.
Well, I just also think that kind of speaks more to where we at as a society and why we kind of so loose on some real. Like, I'm a big advocate also, and I know that she believes it. I think even my child, honestly, like, would you agree with the statement it takes a village to raise a child?
Yeah.
And I think we've gotten into a place that it's so like, I got this. Like, I mean, again,
we don't.
Teachers, like parents snap on teachers for how they come at their kids. And sometimes it is absolutely necessary, absolutely warranted. But other times it's like, maybe your kid was tripping in school and they just got told to pipe down. And because they know what kind of idiot you are, you know, they're gonna flip the situation without, like, she's not gonna come home and say a teacher hit her, and then I'm like, well, okay, you're just
out of the blue,
out down the hallway and the teacher just clotheslined you.
Like, no,
exactly. You know, like we're gonna ask questions to me. I'm not just gonna run off half-cocked based on what my 12-year-old says. I love you, little girl, but again, we know better. But I think a lot of us out there in Instagram world really will put some pressure on people behind what your kids say, and that's kind of ridiculous to me.
And that's ridiculous to me too, because I come from a country, Twinsing, this will be number 3, Jamaica, where listen, teachers were allowed to beat their kids, at least when the children in the 80s. Your teacher could slap you for bad behavior. And guess what? When you were passing your neighbor's porch, you guys call it a porch, we call it a veranda, you better say good morning, good afternoon, good evening as you walk by, as long as somebody was there, because if Miss Sue told your grandmother or your mother that you passed her by and didn't say anything, that could be a beating. And guess what? A lot of times Miss Sue could beat you for it, because it really did take a village. So for me, I grew up with, Tran, who's my biological daughter, with a group of aunties and uncles who always knew that if she was ever out of line, and if Patchy's still on there, we have a funny story of him seeing her, or what he thought was her, out, and he was calling her name down, only to find it was another little girl. But again, I don't understand how you're going to say, I want you to help me raise my child, but I don't want you to discipline my child. And it's funny because men, for that same question, 67% of men say yes, they'd be okay with a stepmother disciplining their child, but 33% said no.
Yeah, kind of along the same lines. Like, how are you going to say, help me in raising of this child, and then say how you gonna do it, but you got to do it this way, you can't do it that way, you can't do it the third. Back to the village raising a child comment, we're both, especially as we've gotten older and matured a bit, gotten to be kind of like the crotchety old folks. We'll be at Walmart, and if some kids run, some teenagers run by or something, she's like, hey, everyone, she's really trying to run them down, seriously. And I'll be like, okay.
I believe in good behavior.
So it's not just something that she's acting or making up, or it's something that's just a part of her. She's very the rules.
I think children are children, and I think, I grew up in a space and a time where children, and I know a lot of people go, children are supposed to have a voice, and Danny does have a voice. Let's not be clear. I'm just talk time, you don't speak. We converse and we have conversations, but I grew up in a place where children really knew their place as children. And that was important. You sat at the children's table. You weren't upstairs when the adults were having adult conversation. You weren't involved in adult conversation. Even if you overheard it, you didn't get involved. You sat and you maybe giggled with the other kids, but you weren't up in the business and doing all the business. And so I still bring that today at almost 42 years old, that I want her, I keep telling her, let me tell you, the worst thing I've ever done was become an adult. It sucks.
Yeah, like the sister mom thing especially, like, it's not cool. I think that there's a class of women, especially when they have daughters, that they kind of raise them to be like the best friend they wish they always had or something like that. And it's like, that's dumb. I think that's not, look, there's living vicariously through your children. There's like being proud of their accomplishments. There's being proud of their successes. But then there's also, some parents take it to the point where it's like, well, yo, I don't get to make her do stuff that I should have did. You know what I'm saying? Like, you gonna make it to the WNBA because I was this close and I'm out there beating her at 4:30 in the morning, making her run up a mountain. Like, that's not hitting on nothing to me, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? I want her to live the best life for herself that she sees based on her dreams and passions and what she wants out of life, not just, I'm gonna make you a marionette and live vicariously through you so your successes are mine. And I think there's a class of parents out here these days that really are kind of on that kind of stuff, like, I'm gonna make you're gonna, by the time you're 18, you're gonna be Miss Arizona, you know. I just, if that's what she wants, great. But if that's what I want, that's kind of a
and
thing.
I'm not to the extreme of the woman he talks about, but I am the parent who goes, you should try this. I ran track. You should try track. I played basketball. Maybe you'll try it. I played softball. I played volleyball. I am that parent because I think children don't know what they don't like until they tried it. And that's the one thing that I had to get her to agree on is, you know, when she got here, I got a list of things she didn't like, and I threw that list out the window. It's like, she's a pick-me. Like, no, like, children are supposed to try things, and that's our rule, right? You try something at least once, maybe twice, and then you tell me you don't like it. Right? How do you feel about that? How do you feel about that?
Fine about that.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with that.
Okay. So here's a question that I read earlier, and Danny even was perplexed by this question, and I want her reaction again when I read the question. Should children have a say on how much a step-parent disciplines them? 75% of people said yes, and 25% said no. Danny, what does that mean to
That's
you?
ridiculous.
Why do you think that's ridiculous?
Because what is a child like telling their parent what they can do and what they can?
I would agree.
I don't really have anything.
I mean, they say the most effective communication is less words, and I mean, from the horse's mouth, though, pretty much.
And I get it, and I get because I used the word step parent. People probably felt, no, there needs to be a line drawn, and I just, why? I don't, here's, and I'm going to be completely honest about how I raised my biological child. I trained at 21. I knew I didn't want to have any more children. Very quickly, her father and I realized we were not good together, and we separated. I made specific choices because I needed to, because I did not want to make a bad choice that would have repercussions and ripple effects on her life. And so I dated very differently. I didn't necessarily commit. I kept a lot of people at bay. I did get married at one point, and he was allowed to discipline her. I was not married for that long, so it wasn't a big thing. But at the end of the day, I was very cognizant of decisions that I made because I did not want any effects on her. Had I chosen to stay in my marriage, absolutely my husband. I wasn't again expecting him to be a provider and then not be able to help me raise her. However, after that marriage, I made some particular choices, and I stayed away from relationships a lot because, again, I was like, you know what? I had her at 21. If she is 18, I'll be 39, right? Like, I'm still young enough to go out and pursue a relationship, and in some ways, that's what I did. Like, I went and I pursued a relationship when she was later in life because I didn't think the way I was raising her, if I had any trepidations or I was like, oh my God, am I doing the right thing? Am I choosing the right man? Can I go to sleep at night? Can I, I don't want those issues. Essentially, I don't want my daughter to be potentially abused or in any way by anybody, and then I caused it to happen. And so I did a little differently, but to me, I have a problem if you're going to go ahead, marry a person, do everything, get the benefits of the marriage to that person, but say, but my child is off limits. Or then sit down with Trianne and say, well, how should he discipline you?
Well, that's what I was going to kind of go with. Like, that question there is kind of bizarre because, to me, I think children inherently know that people that pay attention to them and correct them care about them more than people who just let them do whatever they want to do. Do you think that's an accurate statement? How do you feel about what I just said? Were you even paying attention?
Mm-hmm. What if mommy just let you run around, go to school, do whatever you wanted? I didn't care what time you came in. You were like vaping with the girls in the bathroom and meeting at the QT.
It makes it feel like you don't care.
Exactly. I think that's what the point is. Inherently, again, that's a child's job, is to kind of see how much you care. That's usually why bad behavior escalates with lack of care. You know what I mean? If I was on some stuff, like, since it's just Danielle here, and again, my whole situation with my kids is messy. Like, we got plenty of shows of content based on all of that. Like, we're gonna bring you into the light. But if I was just like, yo, Bug, here, she's 12. Here go $400. Here go the keys to the car. Me and her are going to Vegas. Exactly. We're going to Vegas for the week.
Enjoy yourself.
Don't have anyone over past 10. But some of y'all are legitimately raising your kids with that kind of like mentality.
Laissez-faire attitude of they've got to live.
I cannot expect her to make the best choices for herself.
My dad accidentally burned down the house.
Yeah, you would definitely burn down the house. You would definitely burn down the house.
But yes, adults cannot expect children to make the best choices for themselves. That's why we're the adults.
And they're going to test the boundaries. She does that all the time. She did that today, and I had to check her real quick because I'm on it. Like, mommy's a hawk. You didn't think I was going to see, did you?
Yeah, they be doing the most. And, like, they be doing the most. And like I said, they're so similar that, but it doesn't get to, like,
that bad.
No,
well, let her talk. Okay, talk about your experience, because I think people are here for you.
It doesn't get that bad.
That's it? You have so much more to say. I thought you were going to be like talking up a storm. You're being shy. You don't have anything to say to people about what an experience is like as a kid in having to deal with a stepmom? And is it different for you living with me and daddy full time? Do you think it would be different if you?
It's the same to me.
Because I'm just.
Mommy's just mommy.
She said, if you didn't hear, she said, "Mommy's just mommy."
Well,
and that's really, if you're screaming here, mommy's just mommy.
The hair, and let's be honest, that's Toshiba. Like, I'm not.
No, Daddy can't touch my hair.
I would not want to. I couldn't. I mean, I can do like a 3-braid this long.
Don't lie.
Yeah, like, you don't want like yes. My daughters do not want me ever responsible for their hair care. Other than I'm gonna just have to delegate that and pay somebody to do it. But Toshiba does her hair for her. She changes hair. They both change hairstyles like frequently and regularly, and that's kind of a bonding thing with them. You know what I mean? It's in my experience. You know, I appreciate it. It's kind of like how I feel taking my son to the barber shop, and when he don't always like it, but it's the same type of experience. But when he's done, he's like looks in the mirror and he's like, yeah. You know, like
he does do that after the crying stuff. But what Rob just talked about is creating routines with your stepchild, right? There are routines that Dana have created. One of it is doing her hair. I've started a new routine of teaching her beyond school about Black history figures in history, and so we do that. We have shows that we watch together. Like, we have certain things that are very clear. You can talk more about that.
I I go hiking with her once a while. That's
One
something-
time.
Well, we're gonna pick up on that. We're gonna pick up on that. And we like watching movies together. We do a lot of things together, excluding Daddy because he's lazy.
Oh, you got called out like I called you out last week.
Shady Scorpios, like I said.
No, but that was facts.
Okay.
Like big
You are
facts.
lazy.
Okay.
You want to drive to a park that's not even less than 1 minute away.
That part. So the other day I told her, get yourself outside, go to the park, be a kid. Because again, sometimes she wants to stay in her house. Robert put on his shoes, picked up the car keys, and was gone. But then when he came back, he had her, and I'm like, did Daddy just pick you up from the? I mean, the park is like a half a mile, if that much. And my man really drove to the park, and she was like, Mommy, I don't know why Daddy drove to the park.
It's when you're leaving, you don't want to walk back necessarily.
No, she was fine.
Okay.
I was walking back to see when you were coming so we could play basketball, and I see you in the car.
Okay.
Lazy. That is the definition
I have not.
of lazy. Again,
Can't
sloth.
be that weak.
He's like a sloth. Anyways, and I digress. Here were two other questions, again, which are important when you're considering if you want to be in a blended family. Are kids a deal breaker when considering a new relationship? It was 50-50, so 50% yes, 50% no. Are multiple baby daddies or mamas a deal breaker when considering a new relationship? 100% of respondents said yes.
As we should. Yeah, there's a whole, don't let Summer Walker get y'all messed up. Like, yo, there are clearly.
You can't be agreeing with 100% yes. You got multiple baby mamas. I should have said no to you. I should have did a hard pass.
Okay. Since we're speaking on the topic, I think, again, one is like, okay, you gave it a shot. It didn't work out. Two might be like, okay, you gave it a shot, it didn't work out, and you tried again. And then it's like the ...
Okay, want to know, I gave you a bly because, and Jamaicans say a bly like a pass. So I said, I gave you a bly because the two of your kids came from a marriage. So I got that. Like, if they were just baby mamas, oh no, we wouldn't be here together, boo-boo. But
Okay,
one of them was a full marriage, like a full marriage. But yeah, the other one was a baby mama, the other one was a wife. So that's why you got a block, because you were in like a decade-long marriage and had kids out of marriage. Danny read my book, No Handles for Black Girls, so she knows how I feel about, like, we don't hide anything. So Sorrel State said 2 multiple max, but 3 and 4 life choices.
It's life choices. And that's what I'm saying. I agree. I think, like you said, you tried again. Once you start trying again and again and again, it's kind of like, what?
It's poor life choices, not even just life choices. Those are poor life choices.
These are children that are being, on top of that, you're pulling children into relationship over relationship over relationship. Like, again, we're gonna, Summer Walker is the topic of our Saturday show.
Yeah.
Y'all should tune in.
Not your typical girl talk, because she has a whole song talking about fourth baby mama, and then has the nerve to like take shots at her baby daddy London on the track, as if she wasn't a part of the reason she's the fourth baby mama. But I died.
But again, if my daughter comes home to me,
we're gonna hold this because we're gonna
talking about she's pregnant by a dude with 3 baby mamas, I don't want to hear shit about him. You understand what I'm saying? I don't want to hear nothing about him and how bad he is or what he got going on or none of that. How are you lining yourself up to have your first child and become baby mama number 4? And then you're going to make a song about it?
I would cry as a parent. I would cry. If either of my
and you got
girls
the nerve
come
to talk about his mama and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want to know what Summer's mom thinks of some of her choices. I'm just saying.
I think there's a lot of excuses these days for the behavior of women, and not any for black men. Like, y'all can do anything wrong, anything right, I should say. But I think, I'm going to be honest, as a parent, if either one of my girls came home and said they're having their first child and it is not the first child of the man that they're having with, I don't care if they're baby mama number 2. My children should be baby mama number nothing. That's what I was. I've done something wrong, because I should be teaching them that they should be worried about being wives before mommies. But again, if they go the route, because again I did it. But baby mama number nothing. Like, absolutely not. Anyways.
That part, like,
so again,
life happens, but
life listen, and life
now
does
with these
happen.
kids, like, I'm not gonna bake in an excuse for you. Like, the standard is here, and you're expected to maintain the standard, young lady. And again, she has buy-in on that. I don't think she wants to be, like you said, baby mama number nothing with anyone.
Because what are you supposed to be first?
A wife.
There we go. So, do you have any questions for us? You're being super shy today. I should have prepped you better. Joanna did not do a good job.
I forgot.
What up? Well, we was trying not to prep her, and, with the bleep 2 times and stuff. It's awesome. Like, so we definitely, again, in the planning this, and we're going to probably do this maybe 3 or 4 times a year. We'll have the young lady on and just talk about a different perspective of kind of what's going on around us and with us, and maybe sometimes even just with this culture that we're all living in, and how interesting it is, because I think she's a very intelligent, articulate young lady, and so hopefully we'll get to do this again.
Okay, so it's time for question and answers, baby girl. This is the funny part of the show where mommy's usually laughing, the one where you listen to room. So, Dad, you're going to give it to Daddy. Daddy's going to choose a question.
Well, you can pick it.
So, she's going to pick it and give it to you?
She can be the question picker.
So, she's going to hand it to you, though, because you have to read it.
I'll read it. Would you say you have a type? Do I fit what you thought you were looking for? Danny's
like, you better answer right. Danny's over here.
Interesting. So, I definitely have a type. I think that is very ambiguous, but I like a woman who is intelligent and a little crazy.
Smash that thumbs up.
Danny said smash the thumbs up. The thumbs. So Jamaican. Number 4. Okay, so it's mommy's turning to pick one for me, I guess. Instead, you done changed the game. Okay. My question is there anything you're scared to ask me about but really want to know the answer to? No. We literally ask each other everything and anything. There isn't a question.
Real like that. Like there's literally I don't think she's bashful to ask me about anything, or vice versa. I think we both understand with a certain level of ridiculousness to the question, we would expect what the answer would be.
Yeah.
I think there's certain things that she wouldn't seriously ask me, kind of knowing what the answer would be. But that was one of the things we
talked about last
week,
was about the transparency.
A conversation should never get anyone in trouble.
That part. Okay, next question. Oh, you done pre-picked it. Look at you, Vanna.
What is the biggest lesson you've learned from previous relationships? Trying to put me under the pressure here. No, one I would say is but seriously, when you are blending families, and it's weird because it's almost counterintuitive to the advice that we've been giving out, but kids and animals do have a certain kind of intuition. You know what I mean?
Danny wants to say something so bad. I'm sorry.
We're not going to get too crazy tonight. I don't think. I would Yes. So, just pay attention, because if you should not see variances in how people are around you and how they are around your kids. Like, it should be the same consistent person. And I can honestly say she is just as Jamaican when I'm not here.
Give my question. Okay. So this is our final question, I think. What's one difference between us that you absolutely love? You know what? I am such a planner. Like, everything has to be planned to the T, and everything has to be in a certain way. And Rob is just very, go with the flow, and wherever the wind blows sometimes, that's where he's go. And as much as it irks me, I think it creates this really big yin and yang, because with him, I never know kind of what ride I'm going to take in life, and with me, it's very strategic. He was making. Remember the joke Danny was making? Mm-hmm. Yeah, tell the joke.
Disneyland.
What did that say?
Daddy said we would go to Disneyland, and she would get mad if we were 2 minutes late to one ride. Then we had to go to the food court at 6:30.
She'd have a whole itinerary. It'd be 8:30 to 8:45. We're gonna be at It's a Small World after all. And then we can move on over here to Pinocchio. It would be a whole regimented time. And she'd start bugging once we started getting off the schedule.
I would.
She would yell at us if we were slow to get out the house.
Facts.
So his laissez-faire, kind of go with the flow attitude is a good balance. So
well, I need her reminders, or we would never get anywhere anytime.
Hey,
what's going on, Cuzzo? What's going on? We would never get anywhere anytime.
Okay, so one more question each. Give Daddy his, and then mine, and then we gotta go.
Yeah, it's time to eat.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hungry. What makes me different than the other people you've been with?
Ooh.
Why am I getting all
I don't know. You got the hard ones. You got the hard ones today.
What makes it different is I think everybody likes to think they communicate in their relationships, but we communicate and stick to the shit. I would say that.
I like that. That's a good answer. You're so diplomatic. You could run for mayor. Okay. What's your favorite thing about our relationship? I think my favorite thing is our ability to communicate about pretty much everything under the sun. Just so people know, I am writing another book. It's going to be the title of the show that's coming out in March, and that's actually what I was talking about today. The ability to be able to communicate and really do it in a way that is F your feelings. I'm clearly not saying it because the little one's beside me, but we communicate in that way that I think people said they want transparency in the relationship until they need to be transparent in their relationship. And I think we talk about, again, we can wait for the book to come out, but some of the conversations we've talked about, and they will eventually be topics of the show, people would be like, clutch my pearls, I can't believe you guys have had that conversation. And if something pops into one of our minds, we're just like, hey, by the way, so I was thinking about this, what do you think? Would we and we do that. And so I think that's the best part, our communication about everything. Again, a lot of women say that they want their men to be their best friend and want to tell them everything, but then if they tell them that the girls that they like at the job, there's a whole kitten whatever. But I digress.
And I think there's a lot of good intentions with us. There's not if she came in and asked me, if you killed someone, where would you put the body? I wouldn't automatically assume she had just murdered someone. You know what I mean? So I would just be like, I don't know what she's thinking about exactly or where the correlation is, but okay, sure. And we would maybe have a 15-minute conversation
about that,
where we would hide the body
and why it would be smart and the different things that we could do.
And I see absolutely nothing wrong with that.
No, we ain't gonna kill nobody. Okay. No, we can't leave anybody.
We have an agreement also, neither one of us should be getting incarcerated.
No. Yeah, jail colors don't suit me. I want to be
Well,
somebody.
she's the rule follower anyway, so we don't got to worry about her. But
Mom tried to be on her dress
No.
heavy. You should see her when she's driving.
She just said, I try to be on my best behavior. You should see me when I'm driving. Which she gets a different driving experience in a different Sheba than Trey Ann did, my other daughter, because I was a mess. But again, because I don't have the stresses of life that I used to, I'm a whole, like, brand new me. Thank you, baby pound. All right. Okay, we're actually going to do two more. We got a couple of minutes and then we got to
yeah,
go.
we'll go over a little bit.
Okay. And then we're done. See, I'm going to put the bowl away.
And thanks everybody for joining. Appreciate it so much. Keep supporting. We're gonna keep doing this every Thursday. Oh, and the time change. We're gonna be on at 7 Eastern.
No, it's 8. It's 8 Eastern. Because if you don't know, Arizona doesn't change. Arizona stays the same. So.
What should a healthy relationship provide for the people in it?
Oh God, that's a good question.
I would say stability. I would say security. And I would say support.
So triple S's.
3 S's.
Okay, that's good. Last question, everybody. I'm sorry. Read that because you already know the answer.
Who's your hall pass celebrity crush today?
And most people would be surprised, which will be another show entirely. You know who my hall pass celebrity crush is?
Who, Mama?
No. Who do you always say would never leave me around?
Idris Elba?
No. He's so. My hall pass celebrity crush. It's Young and May.
Oh, that was gonna.
Okay,
That one.
so do with that information as you choose.
And
It is
again-
not Idris Elba. It is not Jason Momoa. It is Young and May. She is my hall pass celebrity crush. And again, do with that information as you may.
That is accurate, and that one always slips below my radar, and that was honestly the most threatening one. I can't compete with Young M.A. I
Very
really compete
accurate.
with Idris Elba, but I really can't compete with Young M.A.
So,
But do what you want with it.
the rapper Joanne, the rapper Young and May, the
And she-
female rapper Young and May.
And again, Toshiba acts so high class, but notice her celebrity crush is a rapper.
It's ghetto.
And ratchet. Listen, I tell him you have to convey a certain image. Anybody who knows me knows I am not like. And when you call me third world bougie,
Third world bougie. That is, I coined that term. That is people from like
the islands.
the islands, the Caribbean, South America, Central America, those type places where they bougie, but they still came from like something close to.
Thank you, Joanne. Young and May could get it exactly.
She said both of them are going right off the Young and awesome.
Young and May can get it. That is my celebrity.
hilarious.
Like, so if anybody knows Young and May, probably don't introduce me to her because Rob may lose me. I'm just saying.
She's third world bougie, so make sure you keep that in mind there.
So thank you everyone for joining Your Feelings, the show. Thank you, Danny, for joining us.
Yes, thank you, Bug. We appreciated it.
Look at your face. You're hungry. Okay.
Yeah, I think we need to go.
we want to, again, we're here to change the conversation around Black relationships. If you want to be on the show, please let us know. If you've got a topic you'd like us to discuss, please let us know this. Again, we are transparent and an open book. And the word of today was awesome. So we hope you had an awesome time. Thank you. And I'm going to try not to flash anybody as I get up and